Why don't we stand up, and as I talk, when you get tired, just sit down. The elders of Tainui have welcomed you this morning and have extended their welcome to this area. And I've acknowledged my special guests, and I did forget to acknowledge my friend, Lawa Whionga Lumanwau, Dame Winnie Laban. I want to acknowledge that there is a number of people from government agencies who are here, as well as those who of Pacific heritage who work for government, but also carry other roles within our community. You might want to sit down. I prepared a 30-minute speech, but then Melanie looked at me and gave me that look that only a mother would give a wayward son. So I'm going to provide some remarks that hopefully will help set the scene for the next session. Let me say that I am a Pacific person of Samoan heritage who lives in New Zealand, Aotearoa. I carry the marks of my culture on my body, and those marks remind me of three significant and what I refer to as sacred relationship. The first is my relationship with the spiritual world, and it reminds me that I am part of the cosmos, of where the sun provides light to the whole universe and rules, and I'm a mere speck in that universe. But nonetheless, I have a responsibility to shine my own light and to serve others. The second sacred relationship is my relationship with people, the human family. It begins with my role as a son, a brother, a husband, a father, and a matai. And those roles begin internally, but they extend and expand with the different roles and responsibilities that we of the Pacific know well enough in whatever role we play, whether it be in our local community here in Mangere, the Gateway, home of the land of the young, beautiful and gifted and champions, or whether it's a role nationally, regionally, or globally. And then the final relationship that the marks of my culture remind me is this relationship that I have with the environment, the lands, the seas, the mountains, the rivers, the trees, the winds, the rain, the birds therein, the fishes and all the animals therein. And it reminds me that we have a responsibility to be guardians of our environment because they are our food bowl, our food sources. They are sources also of guidance and direction for the future. But those relationships all remind us that we are connected, whether it be through genealogy or whether it be through the strife and war of the colonial period or through trade, sport, arts, that we here in the New Zealand Aotearoa, we are in and off of the Pacific. My friend here, the Honourable Minister of Vanuatu, made reference that Melanesia is not well understood by here. The academics have called us Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia. But in its basic form, we are people of the human race. The young people here in Aotearoa refer to all of us as Pacificnesian. The Māori people here in Aotearoa refer to us as he tangata o mana niwakiwa, people of the vast blue Pacific region. And so we need to remember that also the history of New Zealand. Stewart Island is the anchor of the canoe, which is the South Island. We are living on the fish that Maui hooked up. And so what does that say? That New Zealand is a nation that is firmly anchored in the Pacific, isn't going to move to Europe or America anytime soon. I'm also a minister of the government of Aotearoa. I am the first to take my ministerial role in my heritage language, the language that I refer to as the language of the angels. It probably won't be the last. I am called Aupito. I belong to the extended family of Ainga Salvalasi, of which the Deputy Prime Minister is the paramount chief of. I'm also called Toisu Sulu. I belong to the extended family of Satuala. I am also called Tofai. I belong to the extended family of Sawhenunu Iwao. And I'm also called Sua, of the Sasua clans of Samoa. These families may have originated in Samoa, but they are spread out here in Aotearoa and other parts of the world. And I belong to these families, and these families belong to me. And so these are another connections that we have. I am one of 5 ministers of the New Zealand government that are of Pacific heritage. Combined with the ministers who are of Indigenous heritage, we make up 45% of this New Zealand government. And so Pacific people, Māori, we have shared heritage, shared challenges, shared aspirations. We have had a shared difficult history, not in this region of ours. But as members of this new government, we are focused on a new way of trying to do things. This is the well-being approach. Again, with my colleague here, I'm looking forward to how we can amplify that approach throughout the region. And for me, as a Pacific person, for my Māori colleagues who are part of this government, we own our own well-being. Nobody else can tell us what is important for us. As the Minister for Pacific Peoples, my day-to-day interactions with our wider Pacific community have informed the clarity that I hold on how I work and the policy direction that I am driving. That the interests of Pacific peoples of Aotearoa are not confined to the borders of Aotearoa, that they extend, and neither can we continue to work within our own borders. You only need to look to our young people who are leading in innovation, who's leading not just in the arts or music, as has been traditionally been, or the sports, but in the field of business, in community leadership, in the sciences and academia, and their work is not confined to New Zealand. They are leading not only for New Zealand, in the Pacific region and in the wider world. And therefore, again, I re-emphasize why the Pacific region matters deeply to me as a minister of this government. Our well-being, prosperity, and security are intertwined, and our engagement in the region is non-discretionary. My ministry, I suppose, let me just go back. The Pacific Reset that Winston spoke of today. From a Pacific person, a minister of this government, when Winston says that the reset is centered on our commitment to building deeper partnerships with the Pacific neighbors, here's my thinking. Our approach in building these deeper partnerships is to be open, free, frank in our conversations, where our yes means yes, our no's mean no. And like a true Pacific family, we need to operate on a level where we can argue, debate, disagree, and still maintain trusting and harmonious working relationship. You see, as a region, we're just too small. We cannot afford to be divided. Our strength is in working together, our collectivism, our cooperating at all levels and speaking with one voice in this region. And this is particularly true when it comes to climate change. My ministry, last year we released a report called the Larangafo Report, which provides a new vision for Pacific peoples of Aotearoa. That for us as Pacific peoples, we need to look not just 3 years out, but look long term. And the new vision is of peoples that are confident in all that we do, that we are thriving, that we are resilient, and that we will achieve prosperity as we define it for not only our families here in Aotearoa, but throughout the Pacific region. In the Larangafo Report, we've established 4 goals, of which young people told me were important building blocks to achieve that vision. Thriving Pacific languages, prosperity, economic development, a healthy well-being population, and the final part of the goal is really the focus on our young people. Our young people, we have the highest youth population in any other population cohort in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We are young, 22 years medium age compared to Pākehā. Sorry, the elders. So we are young. We will continue to roll out as many children because, hey, that's our population. By 2026, Pacific peoples will make up 30% of the labour force in New Zealand. I tease my political colleagues on a constant basis because whilst 2/3 of the Pacific population is resident here in Auckland, as I get out and about, our Pacific population are expanded right across the region. We're going to take over New Zealand. And after we've taken over New Zealand, we're going to take over the region, then we're going to take over the world. How about that? He's the only one clapping. You think I'm joking, I'm not. And so that's what we're focused on. And I suppose what I want to re-emphasize, as we are working to deliver that vision, to build on those building blocks, I have to say again, and I say this to the ministry and will say it to MFAT and to all other government agencies, that the interest of Pacific peoples of Aotearoa and the challenges we face as Pacific peoples are not confined to the borders of Aotearoa, and neither can we continue to work within our own borders. Whether it be immigration, whether it be health, whether it be whatever the security, the issues that we've talked about here, they extend beyond our borders. Let me just finish off, summarize, and then I'll come to the very end of some conclusion. So in terms of our future, the future of New Zealand is a Pacific future. It's clear in my mind. We are all connected, Aotearoa and the Pacific region. My government and the well-being approach means that Pacific people must own their own well-being. We must lead that, and we must use our values as the foundation for leading that work. We have to look long-term, 30 years out. We've got to establish the architecture, the building blocks that will help us achieve that vision in the future. My ministry has released that report, A New Vision, which was a vision that I got from the young people in our engagement. These, the Lalanga Fall, form the building blocks. They also tell us that our interests are not confined to Aotearoa and that our young people are leading in innovation. Now, finally, I want to spend a bit of time here, next 5 minutes, on the region. So when I looked, I've had the experience with the Pacific Island Forum, had the experience with the United Nations General Assembly. Here's some things that I'll leave off. The world looks to us as small dots on the map. And yet, our stories as Pacific people, there's an authenticity that's not heard at those platforms. We need to make sure that our young people provide that voice. Greta, beautiful, powerful voice. But the authenticity from the Pacific must be part of that story. And so, Pacific Island leadership is important, that regional structure, but we must look to that and assess, is there a better way for us to make sure that we have one single powerful voice for the region? Education is the key. We've all known this, but let me say this. Even if you look at tourism, aquaculture, whatever the resources, whether it be fisheries, we can't compete with the rest of the world. The one single resource that I think we have failed to recognize is education. If we can lift the educational outcomes, tertiary education, then our young people become mobile with qualifications and experiences. We need to develop a STEM pipeline, just for New Zealand, not just for New Zealand, but across the region and in the world. Media, with all the international players and actors that are coming into the region, we need a strong media presence in the region. Our voices. The Pacifica TV that this government has announced, as part of it, is training for journalism, but we need the media to have and play a particular role so that it informs the general public in the region. And finally, the gender issues. Gender issues are so important because we all know the ugly issues within our families and the communities. But the evidence shows that if we don't shine light on it and provide safe environments to discuss those issues, we're never going to be able to resolve it. You know the issues that I'm talking about. It's been mentioned here before. We need to provide that environment for it. Thank you very much.